Thank you, Jamie. It was wonderful, very productive lesson. You gave such a in-depth demonstration too.
This is the demonstration today is a little bit because I've been doing grading online video auditions, entrance auditions, and so I haven't touched the violin really for like well over a week, because I'm just sitting in front of the computer with a piece of paper, taking notes, typing notes, just sitting, okay, one more Sibelius, one more Tchaikovsky, one more this and that, and so the violin just came out of the case basically yesterday, for the first time in a while.
You sound really good. So
Oh, thank you for that
so
vote of confidence.
perhaps the question is very natural that I'm going to ask you. How do you keep yourself in a good shape, especially if you know, sometimes at this point of your career you don't have this regular hours maybe, so you have to be very productive in the time and effective in the time which you can spare to the practicing. What do you have some approach you can share with us?
Wow, how to stay not so out of shape. That's basically what it is. I My latest kick is Bach Fugues. I don't know why. I just think these all three fugues are really finger benders of some sort, because they require not only left hand accuracy and intonation, some really awkward chords, and also I have to control the right hand, so I don't crunch the heck out of all these chords. And then I remember I took a little vacation at the beginning of January, and basically I didn't touch my violin for like 12 days, and I came back and I started playing, and I was horrified. I thought I sounded so ghastly. So I thought, okay, what am I going to do to get myself into shape? So I decided, just what the hell. So in one go, I played all three fugues in that sequence. And then by the end, my left hand was hurting in a really good way, like they were being exercised and being stretched, So I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So ever since January, I've been, doing, I pick random, each fugue, one fugue a day, and I play it slowly, really slowly one time, and then slightly faster with stops just to fix things, and then finally one complete. And of course, the C major fugue is so long and so difficult. Sometimes, that one, just to do that process takes one full hour before I feel like I'm warmed up.
It's interesting. I absolutely agree with you that fugues are, I think, one of the most difficult piece of the violin repertoire because all the twists you have to coordinate, and when you're ready with the left hand, then the chords and voicing, everything is very very complex. Yeah, and at
Indeed.
the same time, it gives you an incredible sense of the theme. You have to really follow one voice, another voice. You have to try to combine them together. So I mean, in all different respects, I think yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's interesting.
I think so. I agree with you 100%. And it's also good for the mind, for the brain, because, you want to play them from memory. At least after the first, slow go through, and you want to put the music aside, and you can say, okay, I'm going to test my memory to make sure I can get through each fugue, fairly unscathed that day.
Since you started talking about importance of chamber music, I also wanted to ask you because I know that you are involved throughout your career. Now you work a lot in your festival, and in Taiwan you were director of the festival, working with the younger musicians. So perhaps we can talk just for a few minutes how it's you feel that's importance of chamber music for overall development of musicians and especially young musicians. And maybe you can share some of your experiences because you were fortunate to work with wonderful artists of the older generation, and you played with Isaac Stern on many different occasions. You recorded some chamber music. Maybe you can share some of your experience with those great artists.
Well, it's chamber music, is first of all such delight, It's so fun to play with friends. And you share musical ideas, and you go out for a good meal after the rehearsal or the concert. This sense of camaraderie, especially nowadays, with the pandemic. you know
Yeah, I saw your wine collections. Yeah, so I know what you're talking about.
but I really missed company. I miss the company of my friends and colleagues, and so I treasure the chamber music experience even more now than ever. But I had a great teacher in Australia, who encouraged me to go and go to the Juilliard. His name was Robert Pickler, and he was actually a student of Hubei, and he studied music theory from Kodai and took some chamber music classes with Bartok. And so he told me from, I was 12 years old. He said, you play chamber music. You go and read quartets, read octets, sextets, whatever you can get your hands on, just go and play for fun and study some of them seriously. And so from a very early age on, I started listening to, I remember the Beethoven quartets with the Vey Quartet, and eventually some more Beethoven quartets with Budapest. And these wonderful groups, they started opening up a whole new horizon for me, And then, of course, once I entered Juilliard, I couldn't wait to, embrace myself playing likes of Dvorak piano quintet, Schubert octet, in the pre-college, once a week, but that was my nourishment, And then eventually I kind of graduated onto bigger things and had Robert Mann, Felix Gallimere, these wonderful, great musicians as my sort of mentor. And eventually I was invited to play chamber music with Isaac Stern, and joining Mr. Stern then was, Yo-Yo Ma, Jamie Laredo, Michael Tree, Sharon Robinson, Matt Heimovitz, fantastic musicians. So I learned a lot from those encounters. So sharing my delight in coaching chamber music is one of my most favorite things to do right now, not only just teaching violin repertoire, but, to look at what actually sometimes you can make chamber music out of Brahms Violin Concerto, that oboe solo in the second movement, for instance, right? When it returns, the solo violin is playing. So that becomes a duet, so that's wonderful. And Stravinsky Violin Concerto, for instance, it's all sorts of duets in the last movement. It's always the solo violin with, a bassoon, with clarinet, with flute, with trumpet, with the concertmaster, etc. So these things really come in handy. If you say I'm going to be a big time soloist, so I don't need to learn chamber music, and that would be totally wrong. I think you're missing out a huge amount of repertoire, and I always maintain that if you play Beethoven, for instance, you only get 10 sonatas and the violin concerto, and that's pretty much it. But if you're willing to explore his chamber music, then you have the quartets, the string quintet, the trios, and these fantastic works that represent the entire growth of Beethoven, right? His incredible evolution. And then that's when you begin to have a more complete picture of a great composer.
Absolutely, yes. And I think you mentioned this already, but I think it's the experience of when you play chamber music with your friends, or sometimes you play with somebody you never met before, but the moment you start working on the music, you find some kind of way to communicate, and it's a beautiful thing if you open to new ideas, if you able to listen and to follow and to accept those ideas and take a lead and then to follow some ideas. I think it's one of the most incredible experience one can have because of the chamber music, because of the beauty of this, all the lines and all the, not only the melody itself, but all the voices and interactions of those other voices. And it's great that you're saying that it's very essential for any advanced player, but for any musicians to go through reading and through the experience playing chamber music, because it gives incredible sense and awareness that it's not only you, not only your voice, not only your ideas, but you have to always be very sharp in terms of accepting other musicians' ideas, and you have to react quickly with the bowings, with the phrasing, with everything, and it gives you incredible new approach to everything you'll do in your solo repertoire.
Absolutely, yeah. It compels us, each one of us, to listen. Listen carefully what others are doing. Sometimes somebody might actually make a mistake, and you have to catch that mistake and how to go with that person.
Right.
Without, the ensemble falling apart, and that's wonderful in terms of the challenge. And it's not so pleasant at that moment, but if you can actually quickly fix that, and before you know it, it's back on track, and it's great. But yeah, it's the alertness, right? We all have to listen, use that extra sensibility in our brain to pick up what other things that other players are doing, and react to that. I find myself more open-minded as I get older. You know, when I was young, you know, I say I you know study a piano trio. I had a recording of so and so fixed in my brain, and then I realized, you know, after many decades of playing the same trio over and over with different musicians, then I realized, yeah, way back then I was just an idiot. You know, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I thought I had the right idea, but I didn't. And then so, you know, but now it becomes more and more natural to open your heart up and accept other interpretations, and it's a wonderful learning experience.
Yes, yeah. And I think it's a, in general, it's a great model of communication between people. You know, when you,
Oh yes,
without the words, you can understand each other, and you have
yes,
certain freedom. When you have a trust, you can even have complete rubatos together without agreeing or disagreeing or something, but just following each other impulses. So I think it's one of the greatest thing. Yes, one can
yeah.
experience. Yeah.